What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Variant the Podcast. What's up, Tim?
What's up, Arris? Greetings, Variant Nation. How's everybody doing?
I got an Elder Wand, Tim.
You do. You came armed today.
I did, because I felt threatened. I don't know why. A disturbance in the Force, so now I need it.
You felt... Wait, okay. We're convoluting a couple of things here. So this is an Elder Wand.
Mm-hmm.
You felt a disturbance in the Force.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
See, magical parallels.
Where's your Mandalorian helmet?
Hey, man, it was on our set, and I'm like, I don't know, I want to hold it.
Yeah, that's pretty much how that broke down.
It's just, you know,
we
and
were,
then I was
we were
pulling,
prepping and getting
memories
set
out of you.
And you just arbitrarily got up, grabbed a wand, sat back down, and then started pulling memories out of my mind.
And then decided to do a crossover with, you know, disturbance in the Force,
Star Wars, and Harry Potter.
Yeah,
the Wizarding
memories
World,
from the mind. Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever.
Anyway, Tim.
Whatever.
We get to talk about Disney Plus stuff today.
Yeah, well, we don't get to. We want to.
Yeah, you know what I mean. We decided, so we get to.
Yeah. So we've been talking about a lot of news on the show for the last few weeks. Since we came back, really. There's just a lot of catching up on all the different things.
For sure.
And today we wanted to focus on something that's more targeted, more specific, and also take a break from the news because it's been a lot.
Yeah. So we decided, like we kind of just already said, to talk about our favorite Disney Plus originals. So only stuff that's like exclusively on the Disney Plus streaming platform.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. That's still a lot.
It's still a lot. And what's interesting about that is that Disney Plus is really like the newest major streaming platform.
For sure.
I mean, HBO Max is, I think, a little bit newer than Disney Plus, but HBO had a platform before that. Mm-hmm. They just expanded it.
They absorbed a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like they had the DC universe, which was part of them, but then they absorbed it. Yeah,
they had a lot of different streaming services come out like in a short period of time. So I'm not really sure exactly what the sequential order of release was. Because like you had Peacock, Apple Plus, stuff like that.
Which is kind of funny because Disney Plus was the first Plus.
Yes,
streaming service, and then everyone's like, let's just do Plus. Apple TV Plus.
That is true. They all kind of mimicked that. Well, a couple of them anyway.
Yeah,
several. But I would say, without any question, not I would say, it's just a fact. Disney Plus, out of all the new streaming services, Disney Plus is the one that has made the biggest splash.
Oh, for sure. They've been around for only 2 years now. Yeah. And we were just reading this morning when we were talking about doing this podcast. They currently have 116 million subscribers.
Yeah.
To put that in perspective, as of the second quarter of 2021, Netflix, which is the granddaddy of them all, has 209 million.
Yeah.
So that's not far off. Fast. Yeah, that's not far off.
That's quite a statement. I guess it's not so shocking because Disney is such a huge loved, franchise and name. So I guess it's not shocking that they would grow really fast, but it is shocking to me that they have grown this fast.
Yeah.
Like that's a really big footprint in a relatively short period of time.
You got to imagine 2020 being the year that it was definitely helped that because everyone was at home. Yep. So it's like, what are you gonna do? So many people working at home or not working. You're just home for whatever the reason is. So especially with kids and stuff not being in school and stuff, it's like, well, obviously you're just gonna get like possibly the best like all around because Disney Plus is like the best for the family, right? Because it has something for everything. It has stuff for like
it's kind of universal.
The little kids. You have a little more of the older audience and definitely like the PG-13 middle ground stuff. Yeah. So I mean, plus it hits all the gamuts too. It's got Marvel, Pixar, Star Wars. It's kind of not fair. We talk about all the time that Disney just like took over almost everything in pop culture. Where it's like, how do you really compete with that?
Yeah. And that's why, like, when we're talking about doing this, like, we could have picked Amazon Prime. We could have easily picked Netflix. Because, in fact, we might do Netflix next. We'll do, like, our favorite shows on Netflix.
Squid Game. You know I want to talk about Squid Game. I know you haven't.
But it has been, like, everybody has been talking about the show. I haven't seen it.
Castlevania is on Netflix.
That's true.
Dude, there's a lot
There's a lot of shows. And, again, Netflix it's almost not fair. And to some degree, you would almost be like, where do I even begin? Because Netflix has been around so long.
There's a lot
and they've been doing their own original content for God, how many years? It's been at least 7-8 years.
Yeah. They just got that new Jake Gyllenhaal movie.
Yeah.
That I haven't watched it yet, but I want to.
And what's been really fascinating to watch with the streaming platforms, and this is the last thing I'll say, we'll dive into it, has been how dramatically we've seen this rapid escalation of these big original films that are going straight to these streaming platforms, but with some of the biggest names in Hollywood.
For sure.
Like Gyllenhaal, Tom Hanks, so on. It's Leonardo DiCaprio's got one coming out. It's crazy to watch that go from in a really short period of time where you didn't see these guys act unless it was on the big screen.
Yep.
Now it's like totally normal within just a couple of years to see these A-listers doing original content that's streaming only.
Yeah, it's almost become like the new normal in a sense, where it's completely, because like you were saying, it's across, it's not just Netflix, it's any streaming platform.
Everything, yeah.
So like Apple TV Plus or Apple Plus, they have that new Tom Hanks sci-fi movie that's coming out. I forget the name of it, but they got that. HBO Max has the Scene of a Marriage with Oscar Isaac and oh my gosh,
Jessica Chastain,
which is awesome. It's just crazy, like all these A-listers. You have Poe Dameron and Moon Knight in this like limited series on HBO Max. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So but I love it though, because it's literally bringing film, like that quality of storytelling and cinematography, but to like a more long form storytelling.
Yeah.
Which for me, because comic books obviously that's long form storytelling, so it's cool to have like 10 1 hour episodes and not just a 2 hour thing and that's it, and you gotta wait 2 years for a sequel if it gets one.
Yeah. A good conversation to have would be like, and we would need some time to actually think about it, I think, would be to say like, what do you think was the first show, or what was the shows that set the standard? I think you have to start at HBO. But what were the shows that set the standard for this new model of like high level, high quality television shows, long form content, for these streaming services? That'd be an interesting conversation to have. Really sit down and look at that and say like, what were the granddaddies? Which are the ones that kind of influenced this move in this direction? And there's a handful that you could think of right off the top of your head.
Sopranos or something.
Yeah, but we'll save that actually for another day, because that would be a fun conversation.
That would be really fun. Yeah, let's get into all. Yeah, but that's good derail. I'm like, I'm like Breaking Bad.
We'll just put a little check mark in that one.
But anyway, Disney Plus original. So do you want to like bounce back and forth, right? Like you give one, I give one.
Yeah, we can kind of go. Well, how do you want to do it? Do you want to do like? I would think, because of the nature of, we could go like we could do like random order. Just what is on your list of favorites,
for sure,
because there's, even in just a short period of time, they've got a lot of original shows.
They do, or a lot.
So I've got a list, but they're not really in a particular order.
Neither am I.
I would actually have a hard time ordering these to some degree. Well, I probably could. I'm going to start at the bottom of my list and work my way up.
Are you going to do it in order?
I was thinking, because I've got one that's going to be an obvious, this is my favorite.
It's probably the same.
It's going to be probably the same.
Should we just start with it?
Yeah, just start with it.
It's going to be Mandalorian.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah,
okay. Just get it out of the way.
So we can start there and we'll work our way back to it at the end. We can start. But Mandalorian is going to be the favorite for a million reasons.
For sure. I think some of the most fun that I've had on the podcast is when the Mandalorian season 1 and 2 is out, and every week we would talk about the previous week's episode. Like that was because you knew, like everyone listening and watching knew that we were going to recap the previous week.
Yeah.
So that was some of the most fun stuff, especially with the speculation of season 2, where like, are they going to bring Mace Windu back? What are they going to do?
So
and
fun.
Spoilers. That shouldn't be a spoiler anymore, but they ended up bringing Luke back and stuff like that. So that was some of the most fun I've had. But
I miss it.
Yeah,
I miss it.
It's coming. It's coming next year.
And they haven't given us a date yet.
No.
I'm hoping at Disney Plus Day.
Oh, maybe they will give us a date.
Which, by the way, I just found out was a thing.
Yeah, November 12th.
I didn't even know it was a thing.
November 12th.
I thought it was just D23, but apparently Disney Plus Day. So
it's
I'm hoping we get a date for Mandalorian.
For sure. It's so smart that like the way they're doing it too. I feel like it's kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say it's their DC fandom, but it kind of almost seems like it is in a weird way.
Well,
right?
As far as Disney Plus Day?
Yeah, because the whole thing, for you guys, who don't know exactly what it is, essentially we're going to be getting a whole new like slate of shows that come for Disney Plus, as well as exclusive content that we can only watch on Disney Plus. So they're going to do a presentation, maybe like a panel, something kind of Comic-Con style, but you can only watch it on Disney Plus, where they say like, hey, we got these shows coming this year. Here's an exclusive clip of this. Rumor has it we're going to get a Moon Knight teaser, a Miss Marvel teaser. There's a bunch of movies that are coming to Disney Plus that day, like Jungle Cruise will be available on there for free with the subscription. There was another one on there. I don't know. There's several movies like that. We're getting the new Home Alone movie, which,
oh my god,
yeah, that's going to be premiering November 12th.
We have to comment on that.
It's Home Sweet Home Alone,
man,
and it's like, we were talking about this earlier. It's like the first two were brilliant. I love obviously the first one, and I love Lost in New York almost just as much as the first one,
dude.
So it's like those two are so perfection, and you said it to me earlier. They were lightning in a bottle, which means you can't really replicate that.
No.
That was just like the perfect storm of everything coming together and making an instant holiday classic. Yeah. But this is like what, the 6th or 5th one they're trying to like do? I don't know.
Well, you had the first 3, which I would say the first two made sense.
For sure.
After that, it started as where it was just like, okay, you're just trying to milk the cow.
And Macaulay Culkin wasn't even involved in anything after the first two.
It wasn't. But it was like the third one. I can't even remember now. Does the third one have Pacino or not Pacino, Pesci and Daniel Stern in it?
No.
It doesn't. No. Not even the same.
All new burglars.
Yep. Okay, so never mind. I take that back. The first two were like you said, they're classics
for sure.
So we get this first look at this week, or actually, we heard that they were going to reboot Home Alone. Mm-hmm. And internally, I don't know if we said it on the show at the time, but I was already like, "What are you doing?" Like, there's some things that for me, it's like, don't touch that.
For sure.
Not because it's sacred or anything like that, but because it's lightning in a bottle. You're not going to replicate that because if you've ever seen, Netflix has an awesome series called The Movies That Made Us. There's a series on the toys that made us was first.
Which would be on our Netflix original list.
That would be on my Netflix original list for sure. So The Movies That Made Us, they actually did, it's that short form documentary series where it shows how these movies came together. And Home Alone was one of the movies they did in their first season. And it's such an incredible story, but it so perfectly shows you how much of a lightning in a bottle film that movie was. That nobody thought that movie was going to do anything. They were trying to pitch that for a while. Nobody thought it was going to do anything. It was going to be just kind of like a come and go film. And then they found Macaulay, and it was like, this kid has got something. That's what they said. And it was like, for sure. First of all, John Hughes just has a knack for this stuff. So he sees, okay, Macaulay Culkin. They get this script from John Hughes. And then you have Chris Columbus come on as director, who's a perfect fit. They're in the middle. They're having all kinds of... Then they somehow land Joe Pesci.
That was the big one.
That was like the big whale that was like, who'd have thought that we would have gotten him for this film?
It's funny in that doc because everyone, when he showed up on set, everyone's... Because it's Joe Pesci, right? Yeah. Like, he was like, this is like the mob guy. Like, this is the guy. Like,
exactly.
Everyone was kind of like intimidated.
They were telling stories about like he would show up when he wanted to set and stuff. Like, nobody really, could say anything to him. But then they had someone else cast as his opposite, Daniel Stern's character, the Marv character. And they screened, I guess, Daniel Stern first, and then they kind of went back and forth on him, and he ended up doing, and it was just a perfect chemistry. Then you had this freak moment where they were trying to find a composer for the film, and someone said, hey, John, as a joke, John Williams is available. Maybe John Williams is available. And they all laughed. And John Hughes and Chris Columbus went, man.
Spielberg isn't using him right now.
And they asked, and he said yes.
It's crazy.
And they all freaked out. They couldn't believe it. And you just think about those pieces that came together.
But how
you find Macaulay Culkin, that's hard to find a kid that is charismatic like that on camera and so fits it. Then you land Joe Pesci to play one of the most iconic roles in cinematic history, arguably. And as one of the burglars, the two burglars. And Daniel Stern fits the other side perfect. And then you get John Williams to compose an iconic score that makes the whole feel of the movie.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, even Catherine, is Catherine Harris is her name?
I don't remember, but she's great.
I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name now. But she was so great as the mom. John Candy, they got John Candy to appear. I mean, just so many things. You're never, ever going to be able to replicate that. And so then you find out that they weren't making an add-on. They were literally rebooting the film. So then we get this trailer, and it's even got some of the same dialogue.
Oh, yeah. Well, freaking Buzz, if you've seen the trailer, is now a cop at this point in time. So it's like, which is weird. So they're basically saying, oh, yeah, this all happened with Buzz's brother, but now it's happening to another kid in the neighborhood. It's like, what? Like, is there like a legend of Kevin in the neighborhood? It's like, oh, this kid Kevin like 20 years ago did this, so now I'm gonna do it.
And I mean, I would get you want to make the movie, okay, fine. I'm sure there's going to be people that watch it just to see.
Yeah, I mean,
it's Home Alone. It's in the Homeland franchise.
Younger. What's funny is
that's got to be what it is, right? They're after the younger crowd.
Okay,
but
I'm probably still going to watch it just out of curiosity. I have to at least. I mean, because I get it for free with my subscription.
My kids might.
I know my younger daughter might want to see it. I don't know. It's a holiday movie. If anything, it's like it's holidays. You're doing cookies or the tree, whatever. You just put it on the background because it's like it's Christmas.
Put on the original.
I mean, I'm gonna do that. I mean, I watch it several times a holiday season.
Exactly, and that's kind of my biggest point. Is like you just remade a film, rebooted it, like remade a movie that people still consider a classic and watch yearly with as a family, kids included. Sure. So it's like even if the argument is that you're trying to attract a new generation to the
people
franchise,
are still watching the original.
Yeah,
too.
The younger kids, parents are still watching that and introducing that movie to their kids, and everybody still universally loves it. So I didn't get that one. That was a weird decision for me because you're not going to be able to replicate it.
No, but maybe it's kind of like that whole thing where it's an established IP. They know they're going to draw interest or curiosity.
I'm sure.
So it's like
at least that's the gamble.
That's the gamble, right? So people are going to watch it just out of curiosity, like me. Like I don't think it's going to be much good, but hey, I have the subscription. I'm gonna at least turn it on.
Man, I'll just put on the original probably.
You're not gonna watch. It's gonna play in your house.
Honestly, and I say this like with all due respect, I will have no interest in watching it. If my kids put it on, I'll probably see some of it.
Yeah,
but I won't probably. I'll just watch the original.
And they're doing like the whole buzz being a police officer now, checking on the house that's being robbed as a whole, because that's kind of like. Me being the OG Home Alone fan and probably everyone listening because it's Home freaking Alone. It's one of the most iconic movies of all time, not even just holiday movies. It's going to be like, how are you going to connect Buzz? I need to watch it just to know.
Yeah.
What are you doing with Buzz? Because he was the jerk older brother. So it's like, now he's a cop. So he's like, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
what are you doing?
Whatever.
Anyway.
Yeah, we got off already on a sidetrack.
All that to say, Disney Plus Day, November 12th, is a day where they celebrate all things Disney Plus. Give us lots of teasers for new things to come, trailers, and all that stuff. So hopefully we get a Ms. Marvel trailer. We get a release date for Mandalorian season 3, and maybe some other fun surprises that we don't even know, they have in store for us. But anyway, Mandalorian. I don't think we need to talk about it much just because we've talked about it in such long form before on here where we're like, all hail Filoni and Favreau. You are the Star Wars gods. Yes. Like,
Yeah, we could probably easily sum it up by just saying Mandalorian obviously is our favorite. It is the best thing that Star Wars has done since the original trilogy, arguably. Many Star Wars fans would argue that.
Is it like I kind of feel like the Trinity is now like formed where you have obviously Lucas, he's the head, and then you have Filoni and Favreau right on the left and right side of him, and that is
Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost.
That is the Star Wars Trinity.
Star Wars of the Force.
And then some people would say, I know who Lucifer is, but I'm not going to name that name.
Oh.
I didn't say nothing. That is your imagination.
I have no idea who you're referring to, I'm sure. So Mandalorian is off the list because we'll just set that as the standard. So what would be, again, do you want to start just randomly or you just want to go to your next one down?
I feel like I don't have them in order because I didn't put them in order, but I know which ones I love. And since we're already talking about Star Wars, I feel like the obvious next move, at least for me, is the Bad Batch.
Bad Batch.
Bad
Batch is a good one.
Batch, which obviously spun out of another, not necessarily a Disney original, but you could only watch it on Disney Plus, which is season 7 of the Clone Wars. Clearly, that's the first 6 seasons were existed long before it, but for the 7th season, it was exclusive to Disney Plus. So that season is an exclusive, I guess. But anyway, it spun out of the 7th season of the Clone Wars. And dude, we talked about this, a lot. We would review every episode on the podcast as well. And man, freaking that show is so good. The fact that they spun out of the Clone Wars, right? They were introduced in Clone Wars season 7, and then they got their own series. You're like, what are you going to do with this? And then as you watch that first extra long episode, and even just as the series progresses, you're like, oh, so this is a really clever way of telling us how the clone troopers transitioned into stormtroopers. Yeah. Which I kind of hinted at. I was like, I hope that's what they're going to do in the first episode. And that turns out that's exactly what Filoni and team did. And man, so awesome. I love that. I think what Filoni does so well, again, we've praised him so much and we'll continue to do so because he's just been, adding such good stuff to the Star Wars mythos.
It's hard not to. He keeps churning out unbelievable content.
I love that he's just finding all these because there's lots of gaps in Star Wars. It's such a rich universe. There's so many things you could plug in. Well, what happened here? What happened here? And I even asked way before this series was a thing. I was like, well, how are they ever going to explain canonically in the new, in live action or animation form on the screen in any form, how that transition happened? And leave it to Filoni where he's like, yep. Because we also saw when they enacted Order 66, how that was for the clone troopers on the ground, and how some of the Jedis were dealing with that. And just, you even see in that first episode, the Emperor giving his speech and stuff, and how the Bad Batch and the rest of the troopers are dealing with it. It was just so good.
Excellent.
And I have nothing but great things to say about it. And then just the character development between the Bad Batch, like Hunter, Omega, Wrecker, Crosshair, the whole gamut. I loved it.
I agree with absolutely everything you said, and we've talked about it on ad nauseum on the show too, as we broke down the entire season and everything like that. It's also on my list. It might be a little lower on my list than if you were to put them in numerical order. Then
I think it would be top. Again, I'm not numbering them, but I think it would be top 5 for me.
Oh yeah, then okay, and yeah, it's definitely top 5.
Okay,
for sure. But yeah, it's so good from top to bottom, beginning to end. It was just so fun. I love world building.
Yes.
We've talked about that a lot. I love world building, especially when you can do that really thoughtfully, very creatively, in ways that is cohesive and it doesn't feel like you're trying to kind of leech off of something that's already been done, but you're just building and adding to that and making it richer and deeper.
Yep.
And because when you do that, you get what you're seeing with some of these things that Filoni has done, which is you're richening and deepening the fan base.
Yeah.
You're making the loyalty to these stories even stronger. Make it stronger. But
solid reference, bro.
But so good. Definitely on my list.
So give me one of yours next, because I just went into the Bad Batch.
I'm going to throw one that is going to be a little bit off the rails. It's not in order. I'm actually going to throw this one out because it's probably an unexpected one. Is one of the very first series that Disney Plus launched is a documentary series called The Imagineering Story.
So good.
It is
so good.
I think I raved about it at the time when they released and they first launched Disney Plus. I watched especially the very first episode where it focused on Walt because it went through eras. It was about, I think it was 5 or 6 episodes, and each episode was an era, a different era of the Disney company.
Yes.
And how it's evolved over time under different CEOs, starting with the birth of the company and Walt Disney. And I think I've watched that episode probably 5 times.
The first episode?
Yeah. I probably watched that at least 4 or 5 times. I've said before, I'm a huge Walt Disney fan. I've read numerous books about his life, about, his worldview and his creative process and all that kind of stuff. He was just from a creative standpoint, he was so unique in how he saw creation but not just that, but how he relayed storytelling.
Yeah.
He had a very unique approach to storytelling. And also I have a soft spot for his appeal to the family. And how a big part of what he wanted to do was create something that families could enjoy together. That's just a soft spot.
Yeah, he literally did it to bring somewhere to bring his daughters to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that whole series, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. You don't have to be a Disney fan, but if you just are a fan of world building, of creating worlds, of creation and imagination in general, just that whole story and the evolution of the Walt Disney Company, and particularly the Imagineers, and how they create and design everything from their animation and how they tell stories on screen to how they translate those stories into immersive attractions in their parks. Really brilliant.
Well, yeah, I mean, but if you are a Disney fan, it just makes it that much better, right?
Oh yeah,
because we're both pretty massive Disney fans,
yeah.
And it's just so cool, like you said, to see. If you are, it's going to be that much better.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not, it's still going to be good just because you're literally seeing the creation and formation of one of the largest entities in the world. Right. It's like, who doesn't know? You can go anywhere in the world and people, you show them the Mickey, face or symbol. They're going to be like, yeah, Disney. Right. Yeah. So it's just really interesting to see like how one of the biggest corporations or companies in the world came to be. But just Walt's, it's just crazy that one man, we've talked about it with Stanley and stuff, but Disney's obviously on a grander scale because now he literally owns all those properties, or his company owns all those properties now. But like how one man literally created like an industry almost, right? Like think of
he did create an industry.
Like think theme parks brought it to the next level. All the movies and shows we talk about here on week to week on the podcast, on the Main Variant YouTube channel, like what by now, because Disney owns most of it, you would say like 60% of everything we talk about is because Walt Disney started it.
He started
back
something.
when.
He started
crazy.
It all started with a mouse, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just
this
crazy.
idea.
But yeah, like you said, the documentary, it covers each generation of Disney, and it's cool to see by the end you learn like because Walt really, his baby was Disneyland. That's what he spearheaded, but he was trying to transition into Disney World, but unfortunately he got sick and he died. And then his brother Roy Disney
finished his vision,
finished it for him. And then after he completed Disney World, he died 2 months after the opening of Disney World,
so
which
it's an incredible story.
It's crazy.
It's an incredible story. And the first episode deals with Walt all the way up through his death.
Yes.
And then the second episode actually deals with Roy taking over and the building of Walt Disney World and all of that kind of stuff. And even the evolution, because, a lot of people already know this, but, if Walt he would not have died, if he would have lived to an old age, then Walt Disney World in Orlando would be a very different place.
Very different.
Than what it became. Roy did his best to fulfill his vision, but there was certain compromises he had to make. Epcot, which he did not build, he just did the Magic Kingdom portion. So that part of it was Walt's vision. He stayed as true to that as he could with some minor compromises. But Epcot, which was Walt Disney's huge experimental prototype community of tomorrow, that was supposed to be an actual living city.
Yes.
Where technology would be like at the center of everything, and it would be this new way of living and moving into the next millennium. And they obviously didn't do that. They turned it into a theme park and stuff like that. But that was after Roy.
What's kind of cool too, that since the Disney company ended up buying Marvel, where it's like Tony Stark was loosely based off of Walt Disney and Howard Hughes.
Yeah.
He's like an amalgamation of both of them, right? And you even see that
in
the MCU movies when they're doing, especially Howard Stark.
Yeah.
Like that was straight up like,
big time.
Oh, so like Howard Stark was like, at least in the MCU, was like very loosely based on Walt Disney, and then Tony Stark is more of the Howard Hughes, right? So it's really cool that like when Stan Lee, because the whole thing with Iron Man, I'm not to go too off it, but was like, he's like, I want to make a character unlikable likable, and so that's where like the amalgamation of hey, we like Disney, Howard Hughes is kind of eccentric and stuff like that, so let's put them together but make you like them. But it's really cool that all that went full circle and the Disney Corporation ended up buying Marvel. Like decades later. But
it's incredible. So but if you want to see how Mickey Mouse turned into like a mouse turned into one of, if not the largest and most recognizable brands, icons in the world, that's an incredible documentary to do that.
For sure. So I got a next one, Tim. And I know everyone knows we're going to, mention like the WandaVisions, all the Marvel stuff clearly.
Obviously.
But I want to go kind of like with you a little off the beaten path, which isn't nerdy per se. And the next Disney Plus original show that I loved, and I think you love too, is Prop Culture.
I loved it.
Prop Culture was so good. So basically, if you guys haven't seen Prop Culture on Disney Plus, they basically I think it's like 6 or 8 episodes.
Yeah, it's in that range too.
Yeah. And it's like this historian who like specializes in Hollywood like memorabilia and props like that, and he goes around looking for these iconic pieces of Disney history, these iconic props. So there's one episode where he goes around looking for lost props for Nightmare Before Christmas, or just even going into like
that was one of my favorites.
Yeah, going into the Disney archive and like seeing stuff that hasn't been pulled out since the film was made, like the original what do you call it, like the puppets or marionettes, the claymation dolls or whatever they use for the film. They even visit Danny Elfman's house because he's actually the singing voice for Jack, and he has the original Jack in the Santa sleigh in his house, the original one. It's like, wow.
And he talks about what they have to do to try and keep it from deteriorating and stuff like that.
How didn't he say he had to have a company come in to like every so often, few years to restore it? It's just crazy. And they do that with Mary Poppins. They did it with Nightmare Before Christmas. And what are some other ones?
The Muppets.
The Muppets.
The Muppets was, I think, my favorite episode because I'm a huge Muppet fan. I'm a big fan of Jim Henson's work. So that
Tron.
was
They did one with Tron.
They did one with Tron. You know, on the Muppets ones, one of the most, like, it broke my heart even because they went into Jim Henson Studios.
Yes.
And one of the things that you were just like, oh my gosh, that's awful, is they asked to see some of the props and they did not have, especially of the actual Muppets themselves, the Muppet pieces, they actually did not have much because they were just like in the very early years of Jim Henson Studios. Like, we didn't have any money. So we just had to repurpose everything. So a lot of the original props, puppets, like all that stuff that they built. And I'm talking about stuff that was like, it was innovative. It was never been done before. Stuff they built from scratch. They destroyed it and repurposed it. So they don't have a lot of that stuff.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Jim Henson, I guess somebody had mentioned to Jim Henson at one point.
His story is cool too. There's a documentary on him.
Yeah, really interesting.
But that's a little off topic. But if you guys find that, that's really good too.
Yeah, that is good. But there was somebody had mentioned to Jim Henson, like, hey, this stuff could be like really important one day. You should at least save like this Kermit. Yeah, right. You know, or something like that. It was the one with his banjo.
Right. It's kind of like their Mickey.
Yeah. And that he did. Thankfully he listened, and that particular Kermit the Frog is actually in the Smithsonian now.
I was gonna say those things are like they're like priceless, right? To end up in the Smithsonian, it's like that's just a piece of Americana, like pop culture history.
Total. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. He's Kermit the Frog is up there. Maybe not with Mickey Mouse, but it's pretty dang close in terms of recognizability.
And funny enough, Disney bought the Muppets.
And Disney owns the Muppets. Yeah. I mean, and they had a long-standing relationship before they bought the company. But yeah.
That show is really cool. If you're a fan of like, you know, film, props, you know what it kind of reminded me of? Remember Movie Magic back in the day? Where
loved that show.
It doesn't deal with that, but it's in the same sense where you're looking at like props from movies. They're talking about the history of the movies while they're searching the props, talking to the people who created these things. Like, oh, you've had this in your closet for years and you're finally bringing it out. You know, let us see it. Like all that kind of just really, really interesting. Like imagine, you know, going to Mark Hamill's house and he's like, hey, do you want to check this thing out? I got in my closet. And he pulls out his original lightsaber.
Dude.
You know what I mean? It's literally, these are things that people would pay millions of dollars to own.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And it's like, it's priceless in the sense that, you know, people would keep outbidding each other to just own this stuff. All those rich, nerdy millionaires out there.
That is because we're both collectors. You know, you're a big collector of toys and action figures and stuff like that. I'm a big collector of the same. I collect a lot of the same stuff, but I'm also a really big collector of like film props. Even prop replicas. I love, you know, if I can't get the actual prop, I'll get a replica. I just love that stuff. So I'm slowly over time, I'm trying to work my way towards like more and more like awesome the
bigger pieces.
Yeah. Original big pieces. But you see these people where they've got these things. Some of them are tucked away in archives, just in like
it's crazy
crates and stuff.
It's crazy.
And you have to get special permission to go and even look at them. It's like, it makes me just go like, good God, like the Mary Poppins one where they showed some of the original pieces from Mary, and they were traveling all over the world to find some of these things.
Crazy.
It's amazing.
I was just watching, everyone knows Adam Savage, you know, Mythbusters. He's got a big YouTube channel, Tested. Recently he went to an archive. I believe I forget the name of the company. They're the company that like auctions a bunch of Hollywood like memorabilia. They're always at Comic-Cons, like San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, you just make Sotheby's?
No,
not Sotheby's.
No. Anyway,
Sotheby's is one.
Point is, he went.
Is it the prop store?
I think it is a prop store.
I think
it's a prop store,
because the prop store is like one of the larger auction houses in the world for props, movie props.
But a lot of stuff they actually don't auction; they just keep like as museum pieces in their thing. And one of the things they have that they're not auctioning is the original model for the 1989 Batwing from the Tim Burton Keaton film, and they restored it because inside is a robotic Batman Keaton, and it moves left to right, and they're like, yeah, this is actually for this shot, and they show like this was the shot they used it for and all that stuff, and it's like a quarter scale or some big thing, but it's just crazy.
Is it the famous Batman turn?
But it's just nuts, like the stuff that's still out there that, you know, they're not even selling. It's just
there's so much
museum pieces.
And I get emails from them. I get updates on what's going up for auction from the prop store all the time. And some of the stuff that goes up for auction you wouldn't even believe.
You're right.
I'm talking about like Indiana Jones's original whip from Raiders of the Lost Ark, like stuff like that, screen used stuff. And so these things do move around.
I just saw someone recently win a Batman Forever cowl, Falcon's cowl, which I'm like, that's pretty dope. Like, say what you will about the film, but that's pretty dope. And then, even farther back, people have bought the Keaton cowl, which is crazy because we've been to Warner Brothers studios in
their archives over
their
there.
archives in California several times. And, they're like, we get the press treatment, but they're like, don't touch it though.
Yeah,
you can video it. Well, you can interview, but you don't touch it.
Yeah, you're looking at it too hard.
Yeah. So it's just crazy that people who have a lot of money could actually just buy it.
Dude, I've read not too long ago. Actually, it was probably about 6 months ago. They had one of Michael Keaton's full suits.
Crazy.
Bat suits from Returns.
Nuts.
They had that up for
all
auction.
Returns. That's the one Returns. I like more.
And you could even see because you can zoom in. They get a bunch of different pictures of what they're going up for
It's
auction.
more armored than the first one.
And you can see like even the deterioration of the latex and stuff like that, where it's crumbling in certain areas.
Well, when we went, that's when you were talking to the people who worked
they
there.
say it's basically impossible to maintain forever.
Well, they were saying even back then in the early days, especially in '89, they weren't making these things to last because it wasn't a thing where like, oh, we're going to turn this into a museum piece. We're going to tour it. That wasn't a thing back then. Now, with all the new costumes for all the new Avengers movies and DC movies, now they know, they're like, oh, this could potentially be like a piece of Hollywood history. We got to make it so it lasts.
Yeah.
So it's really funny.
Yeah. And they take totally different care of these things now.
Plus technology is better anyway.
Yeah. It's a totally different
animal. Anyway, Tim, you're up. What's yours? What's your next one?
So far we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
So next I'm going to go more mainstream. I'm going to go with another obvious with Loki. Loki. Yes. If I had to put them in order, Loki's probably my number 2.
From the Marvel ones, or just Disney Plus?
All of Disney Plus shows.
Disney Plus. So Mandalorian, Loki.
Mandalorian, then fair. Loki. That's probably my number 2 show for all the reasons we've already talked about. Just like with the Mandalorian, we've talked about all of them in great detail. I absolutely love what they did with the show. I love the style, the look, the casting of all the characters, the new characters I'm talking about specifically. I love what they did with Loki in this show, where we got this in-depth look at Loki as a character and who he is and why he does the things that he does, how they really kind of dissected that in a really smart way. But then also how they used this show, not just to break open the concept of the multiverse for everything going forward in the MCU, but to introduce us to the concept of Kang the Conqueror.
Yes.
How they did it, I just thought it was all so smart, so well done. Every episode, with the exception of maybe one, I just thought each episode was just brilliant. There was one episode, I can't even say the full episode. There was just half of one episode that I was kind of like,
Yeah.
That was okay. But everything else, I was just like, God, it was just another freaking amazing episode. It was just really good. So that's got to be my number 2.
That's definitely on my list too, so I guess I don't have to mention that one.
But knock that one off too.
Yeah, it's easily my favorite Marvel Disney Plus show thus far, because as of shooting this podcast, we got WandaVision, The Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, and What If.
Yeah.
So Loki is by far my favorite Marvel one. I don't know if I would say it's my number 2. I think I've said it over the last year or so, ever since The Mandalorian kicked in, I've been so big on Star Wars, especially with the Disney Plus stuff. They've been doing such a good job that I think I would even say the Star Wars stuff, I've been enjoying a little more.
Wow.
Yeah, which says a lot because I'm a first and foremost, I'm a comic book fan.
I would even say that's like a reversal.
It's kind of
for recent years for you.
Yeah, but like I don't, just as far as original content on Disney Plus goes, I'm not saying like the movies and stuff like that. Just Disney Plus. I think Star Wars for me has been overall been putting out the better content because I've been really loving. I know that's very hit or miss. I know.
Yeah, that's tough.
But and I don't even want to say better because Marvel's been doing a great job. It's just, you know what I think it is? You know what I think? We've been getting so much Marvel content, so much good Marvel content for so long.
Yeah, that's fair.
That it's like when we got The Mandalorian and stuff like The Bad Batch in season 7 of Clone Wars, it was a breath of fresh air where it's like, finally, we're doing the good Star Wars again. Where
what are you trying to say? You didn't like you didn't like the last trilogy?
Yeah, no comment. Where we got it back, where it's like, yeah, we've always had good, for the last 10 years, we've had good Marvel. So I think that's what it is. Right. I think that's why I'm like that, because it's like, I'm used to getting good Marvel content, where there was several years where, there was a long time where we got nothing. And then a few years after that, where like, we got like, okay. And then we finally got back to like, years from now, this could be argued that this is some of if not the best Star Wars content we get besides the original trilogy, obviously.
Yeah.
So
because we honestly don't know what we're gonna get for live action movies going forward. I mean, we do know what we're getting, but we don't know like how it's going to play out for live action films. We know that we're getting a couple of specific films, but they're kind of segregated, right? They're their own like little one shot, films, if you will.
Plus the slate too, like we know Book of Boba Fett's coming. We know we're getting Ahsoka, Mandalorian season 3. Acolyte seems really dope too. We're getting a bunch of stuff. So I think that's what it is. It's just the fact
that what's the name of the show coming out with Cassian? It's one of the next coming up shows for Star Wars aside from Ahsoka and.
I forget. There's a lot.
I keep forgetting the name of that series, but that one actually looks
People are
really
yelling
good
at
too.
us right now. What's this?
Well, some Star Wars fans you are.
Big fan.
But yeah, they've got a ton of Star Wars stuff lined up, and all of it looks good.
Yeah.
All of it looks good.
Anyway, Loki, absolutely loved it. Definitely in my top 5 as well. And the only reason I'm enjoying Star Wars more, I think, because it's been really, really good. But again, I think I just figured it out for myself because I'm so used to getting good Marvel content that I'm like, all the Star Wars stuff is just kind of like new and refreshing, and it's something, to get excited about because it's like, again, we're gonna see Obi-Wan, we're gonna see Darth Vader again on the big screen. Yeah. Like, it's just crazy. It's crazy.
I can't argue with any of that. The Star Wars series specifically, what they have lined up is, in my opinion, what they have lined up on Disney Plus for Star Wars series is a much stronger slate.
Yes.
Than what they have lined up for Marvel as far as series go.
I'm actually again, I love Marvel. I love the MCU, obviously. But I was thinking the other day, I'm a little worried because they also announced Disney Plus announced recently they have Agatha Harkness show in early development. They have a Monica Rambeau show in early development. Yep. And a Legend of the Ten Rings show in early development for Disney Plus.
Yeah, so, with the sister of Shang-Chi.
Right. But I'm a little worried of the oversaturation of it. Because with Disney Plus now, they're pumping out so much. And I'm like, this is awesome. But being a massive fan that I am, I do think there is still a point where it's like, okay, that is a little much. That is a little much. You know what I mean?
You're pushing it.
You're just like, I trust me, if anyone wants it stuff, it would be me. But there is okay, you have to kind of leave us wanting more.
Yeah.
Thing. You know what I mean?
For me, it would be the issue with the Marvel slate. For me, would be with Star Wars, the stories that they're doing, they kind of, I don't know, it feels more like it fits slots. Better. Right. As far as what fans would be looking for than with the Marvel slate. It feels a little bit more like they're pulling more I don't want to say random characters. That's not exactly what I mean. But it's almost like they're pulling in characters that you wouldn't expect and you're not sure what it's going to be.
Yes.
I guess that's probably the better way to say it. They're characters that you're like, that could be cool. I don't know. We'll see.
And you know what?
You wouldn't think of this would be the obvious next thing for them to do because of X, Y, or Z. And you're like, well, yeah, let's see them do that. And so they're kind of bringing stuff out where you're like, okay, I wasn't expecting that, but
there's a few,
we'll give it a shot, but who knows?
There's a few Moon Knight. Obviously, everyone's been wanting that for years. Deadpool 3 and stuff. But like you said, I think because the first 10 years they already used all their A-listers. Yeah. Right. You already got the Caps, the Hulks, the Iron Man. So it's now they're having to dig deeper and deeper. Yeah. But to be fair, look what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy. Very true. Unless you were a comic book fan, no one knew who they were, and now they're top tier superheroes.
That's why I'm you got to give it the benefit of the doubt. Right, you got to give it a shot and see. We've got Miss Marvel.
Marvel coming out.
Captain Marvel, in my view, has been a bit hit or miss. So they've got She-Hulk coming. You've got down to Monica Rambeau.
Secret Invasion.
I actually liked Agatha Harkness in the WandaVision series, so I'm actually curious to see what they do with that because I'm hoping that also may tie us eventually into Mephisto if something else doesn't because I really want to get to Mephisto.
But it's also though she was great, Agatha Harkness was great in the WandaVision season. It's just because you're great doesn't mean you can necessarily hold your own series. I'm not saying that she won't be able to.
No doubt.
But I feel like it's a gamble.
It is. Especially, and this would be my I shouldn't say major concern. This is my biggest concern about the Agatha Harkness series spinoff announcement is I wouldn't because WandaVision was good, but it was, it was kind of its own thing. You know what I mean? It was very weird. It was very different.
Yeah.
And it worked for what it was. I wouldn't want to see them try and replicate that because they left Agatha in, or Wanda did. She left Agatha trapped in that delusion.
Very cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want them to just go back there and go back to one. You know what I mean? Where it's just kind of resetting that weird, quirky. I would want to see them do something different with it. That's why I'm hoping it does eventually lead to something like Mephisto if they're not doing that somewhere else. But, it's just one of like a pile of things that with Marvel, I can see how you would land on more of a, you're like, yeah, this excites me more over here with what they're doing with Star Wars than over here.
Yeah, it's that thing because they've had such a long run and they have such a big slate.
Yeah.
Because I also would love, which we're starting to get slowly on the DC side, which they're starting to do like on HBO Max, where we're getting a GCPD show, we're getting a Penguin spinoff.
Yeah,
like I want to see their like at-home streaming service universe that's connected to the movie universe build up because it's just what it is. We've had Marvel for so long. I love it, and I keep wanting to get it, but we know we're definitely going to. I want to see other things start to come up as well, like DC, and obviously Star Wars has been banging out great stuff for the last few years, so I'm excited for that. All that to say that I agree with you, Tim. Loki. Loki.
All right, so what would be your next one?
Since you did an obvious one, let's get another obvious one out of the way, which would be the Falcon Winter Soldier.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was a really good series. It wasn't my favorite out of the Marvel ones. I did like WandaVision more, but I feel like the Falcon and Winter Soldier is kind of really important since it sets up a new Captain America. Because that was the whole thing with Endgame, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like, what's going to happen? He gave Sam the shield, and the series deals with, well, I don't want the shield. I don't want to be Captain America. By the end,
transitioning.
Yeah, he obviously becomes Captain America. We know we're getting Captain America 4. Mackie is returning. So, it's Captain America. And it was a really fun series. I like the way they approached everything. I think Sam's journey was really, really cool. Because when we talked about episode to episode, my main gripe with the season was the villain. Like I was not a fan of the villain.
It almost felt like there wasn't really
right. Like I wasn't a fan. But as far as Anthony Mackie and especially Sebastian Stan and their relationship together, the two of them are just great to see. Great action scenes, and then that final episode where freaking he becomes Captain America. Everything they did with his wings, the suit was like almost ripped right from the comics. Even the speech he gave at the end to the reporters, I thought that was really well executed and done. And I'm just excited to see where it goes. With that said, I know a lot of people agree. It's like, how can you live up to like the Steve Rogers? Like
very tough.
It's going to be really, really tough. But I'm curious to see what they have in store. And I'm excited for the future of Captain America, even though I'm always going to miss Steve. Chris Evans.
I think a lot of people feel that way. That because again, it's Steve Rogers Captain America. That's the iconic Captain America.
Yeah,
that's the Captain America that everybody knows.
Without him, there wouldn't be a Captain America.
Yeah, and Chris Evans did an incredible job of bringing that character to life for a very long time. So there's a lot of good reason for people to miss that character and stuff like that. But I think they handed it off they put it in very capable hands. I think Anthony Mackie was a great, because there was that whole discussion of like Bucky or Sam, right? I fell on the Sam side from the start. I was just like, I think it has to go to Sam. Because it was, Bucky has this darker past.
It made the most sense.
It just made the most sense. Sam did he much more represented what Captain America was in the MCU.
Yes.
So
even in this season, they explore why Bucky shouldn't be because he's very flawed and he's going through. He's seeing a therapist and he's working through his demons.
And that's really was my main point. Was they did a great job with this series of laying that out and answering the audience's question of who should get the shield and why. And they did a really good job with that. And they addressed several other things in the show. And I thought they did, in the end, a very serviceable job of dealing with some complex issues.
Yes.
Difficult social issues.
Again, especially that speech at the end when he becomes, the reporters, that I thought handled really well.
Yeah, I thought it was relatively balanced in their approach and how they,
which is what
very methodical and thoughtful, which you don't usually get in series like this.
No, that's the thing that I liked about it a lot. Because Captain America, especially, he's all about balance, right? Like any true hero, you're not on this side, you're not on that side. You're just on the side of
trying to find what's right.
What's right, right? Yeah. And if you don't have the answer, you're not so much to here or there. You're just kind of like, okay, well, let's see how we could compromise with this. And it was very much that. So I'm like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done just across the board, and I love where they left things off heading into, as you said, Captain America 4. We'll see where all these characters go. The buddy relationship between those two, I'm really looking forward to seeing them continue.
I loved all the references they pulled from their past experiences and like, you know, Civil War or Infinity War or Winter Soldier. I loved like how there was a lot of callbacks and even new things in here, which was really fun.
And let's not forget about Baron Zemo.
Zemo, yes.
I can never remember the actor's name who plays him.
I don't know his name
but
either.
He is so good as the character, and he played a pivotal role in the story. And that was a really great evolution of that character as well in the series. They did it, and they set him up for future stuff.
And the U.S. agent, obviously.
Yeah, there was so many things they did with the series. U.S. agent, even the resolution. It was just a really heartwarming and well done resolution with Isaiah Bradley at the end of the film.
Yes,
or at the end of the series, I should say, where Cap. You know, they have several different exchanges throughout the series, and he is just furious, obviously, for obvious reasons. You know, kind of harks back to like the Tuskegee Airmen and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, they bring that to such a, you know, almost a tear-jerking resolution. I was going to say, end,
I got a little
where he ends up in the museum, and he finally is getting the due that he deserves. And
well, because Sam says really something to him is like, now they'll always remember, or they won't forget.
Yeah, I mean, just like, that exchange there. The writing was good. It was very well done. So yeah, definitely on the list.
Yes. So that throws the ball in your court now because I brought up the Falcon.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to just go ahead and stay in the Marvel lane. I'm just gonna have to stay in the Marvel lane, but I'm gonna take a sidestep.
Okay.
Staying in the Marvel lane, but I'm gonna go with Assembled, the behind the scenes series.
Ooh, that's a good one
for the Marvel stories.
That's a good one.
And you thought I was gonna say WandaVision. I know you did. Which is on the list.
I feel like we should just get
WandaVision's on the list. WandaVision's on there.
I liked it more than the Falcon Winter Soldier.
In fact, we ranked it from Loki, WandaVision, and Falcon Winter Soldier. I think although for me, Falcon, Winter Soldier, and WandaVision were like right there. It was pretty tight for me.
I think my order, as far as the Marvel ones go, it is Loki, WandaVision, oh my God, was it Falcon, Winter Soldier, and What If?
Yeah. That was both of ours. But for me, like WandaVision, Falcon, Winter was like 2A and 2B. It's that tight. I like them pretty close. For the largest reason, I think Falcon and Winter Soldier did a better job of connecting and just kind of staying more consistent, whereas WandaVision was a little disappointing at the end for me. It left me unsatisfied.
Well, because of all the rumors and theories
and again, we've said it before, we kind of did some of that to ourselves, but I do also think they could have brought some things to a resolution in a better way.
I just liked how different it was. Like literally the first two episodes, you're like, what the freak am I watching? And then just the Vision thing and Scarlet Witch, and that we got more fleshed out origin for her. I really
and how they set her up to be extremely powerful and formidable.
Well, now they made her because they made her the Scarlet Witch. Previously, she was never called the Scarlet Witch. Now she is like, that's the one thing Agatha says to him. She's like, "You're the Scarlet Witch." Yeah, and it was just so dope, so cool. We got her cool new costume.
That was a really fun series. But that was really the one that kicked it all off for Marvel.
Yeah, it was the first one.
Yeah, that was the very first one. So it was a nice step forward. But the Assembled series, which is the behind the scenes of each series as it rolled out. I love, just like with the Imagineering Story, I love docuseries, but I love behind the scenes stuff. I love the making of. You know, I'm in the filmmaking world, so I just love seeing how they go from, you know, beginning to end in the creation of these ideas, talking to the creators, talking to the filmmakers, why they chose, like, even down to the color palette and the look of the series and all that kind of stuff. Because Marvel, that's one of the things that I really do like about what Marvel's doing. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know, I complain about some of it after the fact, just like every other fan. But you know, they do a good job of really giving a very broad, diverse group of filmmakers and creators a platform to say, hey, see what you can do with this. Let's see, you know, what your vision or your style with this character or this world or this landscape would look like. And so as a result, we get really, really different stuff. And a lot of times things that you wouldn't expect, but that really work. Other times, again, for me, it doesn't. work as well. But some things are really surprisingly good. You know, that you just would be like WandaVision, I think is a really good example of it. Because when we first saw, I was like, what is this even
very different?
Like, this is so weird. You know, just as far as like different from anything you'd ever seen from the MCU. So we're like, what are they doing with this? Is this some kind of a dream state she's in? Which ended up kind of being true. But they just they took something that would have been so eclectic and weird and made it work in such a shocking way.
Yeah.
And so that's always fun. And assembled the docuseries, behind the scenes series for the Marvel series. They just do a really good job of highlighting that and showing why it works.
For sure. That kind of leads into my next one, which is a sidestep from where it's Star Wars, but it's not a series in the sense where it's like an episodic, like, you know, which would be, it's a behind the scenes docuseries, Star Wars, Mandalorian, The Gallery. And that is, so it just gives you behind the scenes of the first season of Mandalorian and even the second season of Mandalorian. Yep. And the most recent one we got an hour episode that just touches on the Luke episode, the finale of season 2. You haven't watched it yet, Tim.
Still have not watched it.
You freaking haven't watched it yet. It's probably terrible. The best gallery episode they've done thus far.
It's awful.
They go through how they kept it a secret, what they did to keep it a secret, how they had a different name for him. Like the only people who even knew was the people who had to be on set. Like the absolute, like, if you don't need to be here, you're not here. That's like crazy. Unless you have a camera or you're in the prop department, like very important, you're out. Like you don't need to know.
Out.
You don't need to know. And they just go through it all. And like, I'll say one thing. It's kind of a spoiler, but not really. But
don't spoil anything for me.
We see them go to Hamill's house.
Okay.
We see Filoni and Favreau go to Hamill's house, have the conversation with him. What do you think? What do you do?
Oh, man.
They may have brought Grogu with them to be like, how does it feel holding Grogu? Dude, it's like, you gotta freaking watch the show. And Hamill is in there saying like, it was crazy. You know, they asked me to do Luke in his prime, and you see how they did the face replacement technology, what's the craziest thing for me is they developed a program that they just uploaded every single interview, movie, audio clip they could find of Mark Hamill. Any piece of audio from anything that's ever been recorded for him, they uploaded into a database.
That's so insane.
Then used a program to like basically take all those words and put all the correct like enunciations together to form his young voice. Because you know, when you get older, your voice changes a little bit. So they're his older voice isn't going to match Luke at that period. So they just took younger audio clips from him, uploaded it in this algorithm thing, and just put it together to make a young, authentic Mark Hamill voice. Friggin', it's like we're living
the stuff that they're doing. Yeah. It's like straight up. Oh my god!
Because it's Hamill's voice. It's literally him talking. They just took all the words together and it made it flow seamlessly.
It's freaking Blade Runner.
But anyway, that's
and I'm ashamed of myself for not having seen that, because I've seen all the other ones.
That's what I'm saying. And this is the Luke one.
I know.
This is the Luke one.
I have no excuse.
They go over the fight scene. No, Filoni freaking breaks down how to build up the tension for the introduction of Luke.
Oh my god.
He goes in step by step of like why he did it with the X-Wing, why you don't see him, why you see it in black and white first before you see the color of the lightsaber. Like, so you're slowly clicking. Is this Luke? Oh my God, this might be Luke. No, it's Luke. And it's just, he just goes
Not
through
me.
It. Do it.
As soon as I saw that X-Wing, I was like, oh my God,
Tim,
they've done it.
Tim, Filoni takes us to church. Okay? He takes us to church and he lays down a sermon.
Dude. I'm going to watch this tonight.
You need to. Your boys would love it.
I'm going to watch this tonight.
It's great.
I've been meaning to watch it. I haven't gotten to it, and I'm going to watch this tonight.
But anyway, kind of go a little more rapid fire. I wanted to do another one, which is off the beaten path again, but I love it because I'm a big fan of Pixar. Monsters at Work. That show.
You've been raving about that show since it came out.
I love Monsters Inc. It's one of my favorite Pixar movies.
I haven't seen it. My kids have seen it. I haven't seen it.
It's one of my. It takes place, I think, weeks after the first Monsters Inc. movie, because Monsters University.
Oh, is that where it lands?
Yeah, the Monsters University is a prequel. It tells you how Sully and Mike Wazowski met. Mm-hmm. Where this series is basically a direct sequel to the first movie, where now they have Laugh Power and Sully and Mike Wazowski are now the CEOs of Monsters Inc. and stuff like that. So it's really, they got a lot of cool characters. It's actually funny. It's obviously a family show, and I've watched it with my dog. I think another reason why I liked it so much is because obviously I love Monsters Inc. and I saw the original when I was younger, but my 4-year-old daughter loves it as well. And it was a cool thing to like watch something with her that I grew up with. But it is genuinely funny, and they even have callbacks to all like the Abominable Snowman from the original movie and stuff. It's the whole original voice cast, and there's a ton of awesome, funny new characters. I highly recommend it if you're a fan of Pixar and or just have kids.
I know my kids have seen some of the episodes. I have not watched it, but the very first episode, I think they were just like, it's okay. And then after that, they watched a bunch of them.
So funny.
And they were just like, yeah, it's actually good.
And then at the end of every episode, they have like a Mike Wazowski like laugh class where he's teaching like his employees how to be funny to get the power. And it's just like these little like minute 30-second beats where they're just really funny. You gotta watch it.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna check that out. I'm surprised I haven't, because I love Pixar.
Yes.
So that kind of makes me think of one of the things.
It's Billy Crystal. It's freaking
it's the actual original voice cast, which is shocking.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's not shocking, but you know what I'm saying. But that kind of reminds me of one of the other things. This is not a Disney Plus original, but one of the other things that I've loved about Disney Plus since it came out. People are going to think that this is like some kind of paid advertisement for Disney Plus.
It's definitely not.
It's not. This is just.
Although we should have made it one. Because why not? Right?
Yeah, we should have told them before. Maybe we should have gotten paid for this.
We're doing it anyway.
Yeah. But I've loved going back to my childhood. I've always loved the original Disney cartoons, the Merry Melodies and stuff like that. Like what's the name of the one, the ghosts, the 9 happy ghosts or something like that. But anyway, they released like the original Disney cartoons. They were playing them on the original Disney Channel when Disney Channel first came out. They would play them all the time, and Disney Plus brought all those back.
Yes.
And they'll rotate them, and they'll put different ones up at different times. And I'll always keep an eye out for
when they upload a new one.
Yeah, when they put up, and they also have some of the original Disney Magical World of Disney like documentaries that Walt Disney would do, like the World of Color and stuff like that. That I also am a sucker for. So that's kind of the Monsters Inc. thing's kind of in that vein for me, I guess. But my last one that I'll mention before we wrap this up is one that's probably going to be on your list too. But it was a shock one for me.
Okay.
Because I'm not that huge into anime, but Visions.
Is Visions on your list?
Visions is on my list. Because even though like as a season, I'm very much split.
That's what I was going to say.
But the couple that are good
are really good.
Are incredibly good.
Yes.
The Elder
is amazing.
Amazing.
So that's what I've been telling you to watch.
Yes.
Right? With
the
David
Ronin.
Harbour. The Ronin, yeah.
I think the Ronin might be my favorite one.
I think it's called the Duel, but the Ronin.
The Duel. I'm sorry. The Duel.
The character is called the Ronin.
You're right. So the Duel, which is the first one, and I was blown away.
It's great.
And it's short. It's only like 15 minutes.
They all are. They're all pretty short.
I mean, there's some that are almost half hour.
Some,
you know, but the Duel is really short. It's only like 15 minutes. And I was genuinely shocked at like how good that was.
It's really good.
Just right out of the gate. So it was a really nice, like, first step forward.
But it kind of sets you up where you're like, oh, and then the next one is like, eh.
Yes, and because that's why I watched the next one,
right?
Because the Duel was so good, and then we were just like, oh, let's watch the next one, and the next one was like that rock Star Wars rock music. They were in a band or something.
Playing for Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, and it was the kind of anime that is not my thing,
right?
So it's kind of very much kiddish. I don't know what would you compare that to as far as
it's kind of like in the Pokemon vein.
Yeah, a little. I guess it would be Pokemon. I say Pokemon. So that one, we were just, even my boys were just like, okay, we could have skipped that one.
No,
that wasn't our favorite. But the Duel, and then there were several other, even like the Ninth Jedi.
That was another one of my favorites.
Really, really good.
Just the fact where it's like it deals with a lightsaber smith. I'm like, oh, yeah, you had me at lightsaber smith. That's just cool.
So good. I just think that it is. I think the thing that stood out for me, and again, it was more of a surprise. It was a happy surprise, was how different it was.
Very.
But also it demonstrated one of my big points about Star Wars that I've been saying for years, and I know you agree with, which is we need more Star Wars stories that mix with Kung Fu Asian style martial arts films that mixes those two styles rather. Just like what they did with the Ahsoka episode in The Mandalorian.
Yes.
We freaking need a movie that is rooted in that concept.
That'd be dope. That would be really,
especially
really cool.
if you go Old Republic.
dude.
And you find a planet that has that it almost feels like Asian samurai culture.
Because that's another thing
that
this series showed us. There was a lot of this the lightsabers look like actual katana blades.
Oh, so
I'm like,
dope.
that was really, really cool.
Because it kind of reminds you of the Darksaber.
Yes,
it's that kind of. That's why the Darksaber is so cool.
Yes, it's. I want it.
I'm telling you,
I want it. But I will say, like, I did like the series. Well, it's weird because I loved half the season and then half the season I didn't.
Yes.
So it's that weird where like, yes, there's like four. For me, I think there's like 4 awesome episodes, like the Duel, the Elder, the Ninth Jedi, and I think there's one more I forget the title of. But then the other ones, I'm like, right?
Yeah.
But it's still great. It's still great. I want more.
For me, it was so different.
Yeah.
That it stood out.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just such a unique concept. I loved it.
I think it's just one of those things where, like, as a whole, like, if you had to judge it and average it all out,
right?
I think it wouldn't get as a high score. But if you're just picking like episodes out, awesome. Like again, because those episodes, like the Duel and the Elder, some of the coolest Star Wars stuff. You know what I mean? Because it's like Elseworld Star Wars, where everyone knows I'm a big fan of that alternate reality type stuff. Where it's like you just gave them the Star Wars toys and said, do what you wish with it in this, like, Asian culture. Yeah. Great.
Ton of fun. Yeah. I highly recommend, again, not every episode, everybody's taste is going to be different, but that's kind of the fun aspect of it is every single episode is from a different studio.
That's true, because a lot of people might like Tatooine Rhapsody, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, it might be the flip opposite.
Yeah.
You might like the ones that we didn't really care for as much, and, the other ones don't fit.
But that's the fun part with anthology series, that there's all like their own thing, where it's like you might like one episode and you might not like the next, but that's kind of the fun of it. Yeah. They're like one-shots.
And for someone like me to say, like, to really like it, who's not into anime or manga.
It's true.
I'm not because I think it's all bad or anything. It's never attracted me. So I've never really watched a ton. I've watched some, but nothing crazy. But for, so even for someone like me, who's really, an amateur when it comes to that kind of stuff, to really go, wow, that was really unique and different and fun. It's definitely worth a watch.
For sure. I would say, I do want to say my favorite episodes in case people want they just want to go through. So the Duel, I pulled it up. The Duel is one. The Village Bride.
That was
a really good one. The Ninth Jedi and the Elder. Those are my 4 favorites by far.
That's pretty much
of those
right
are
on
super solid.
There was one other one, I can't remember the name of it, but that's pretty much my list as well. Yeah. Those are my favorites.
And there's 9 episodes, so that's basically half the season.
Yeah.
Because there was other ones
just shy.
Just shy. So again, really solid, especially if you're a Star Wars fan and you like to just see. Because in the Duel too, that like umbrella freaking lightsaber thing that
awesome.
villain has,
the Mary Poppins lightsaber,
yeah, like that Sith lightsaber she had, so cool, so cool,
very cool.
But I think the point is, Tim, there is no shortage of good Disney Plus original content, and that's just the original content. Obviously, we have like all the Star Wars movies, all the Marvels movies, all the Disney, Pixar.
We didn't even we didn't touch any of the original films that they're doing.
No, and there's a lot.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't want to get into it now.
Yeah, we're going to go into the weeds because there's definitely a
lot. So now that we've done this for Disney Plus, Netflix, next one we're gonna have to bill you.
Yeah.
If we do.
There's a lot of Netflix ones too. Even Hulu's been pumping out some stuff too lately.
Dude, there really is. I mean, again, we know why, but there's a lot of stuff out there. I just think Disney has done a good job, at least for geekdom, they concentrate so much into one platform.
Well, you got Marvel and Star Wars off, out the gate. So
and the next one obviously is going to be wait and see what what DC does with HBO Max.
Because
that's a very big wait and see, kind of like what we were talking about with Marvel.
It's a very big wait and see because apparently they're doing 2 original DC films they're doing 2 DC films that are going straight to HBO Max, Batgirl, and then Blue Beetle. And the people have already been cast for the main role. So like it's happening. We're probably gonna get more information on that, I would assume, for DC fandom. And then obviously GCPD, the Penguin show,
Peacemaker show.
Yeah. I'm sure I'm forgetting stuff. There's a lot of stuff. But point is,
and it's only going to keep expanding.
It's going to keep expanding, right? And who knows if these shows do well, especially like Peacemaker and GCPD and all that stuff. We might get second seasons. Yeah, I'm sure that's the goal.
And if DC is paying attention, and if DC is wise, they will move towards that Michael Keaton Batman Beyond series that we just talked about. That would be pinnacle.
Don't toy with my feelings like that, Tim, because that's Batman's my end all be all.
I can't imagine if they actually did something like that, pulled something like that off. I can't imagine that wouldn't draw huge numbers.
Even like like villain spin-off series. Like, because they're doing Penguin already. Like, what if Paul Dano gets his own
the Riddler from
dude, I don't even want to think about it because I'm gonna get so excited and it's not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen.
But anyway,
we'll see.
Anyway, guys, that is our most beloved Disney Plus original.
Yeah,
series.
that wraps up this one.
Yeah,
so this was a fun, focused conversation.
These are nice breakouts than all the new stuff. I feel like it just allows us to just talk without having to hit a bunch of bullet points. Like this trailer happened, this clip happened, this comic came out. You know,
and we'll continue to do this. Some of the other topics we'll get more comic centric.
For sure.
Coming up, and we're also going to have some guests coming on to talk about some more focused things. So,
indeed,
we got some fun stuff lined up going into the rest of the year, actually.
But with that, guys, we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.